very thankful. I know it's far-fetched, but if any of you are new to Zoom, I can just point out a few things. If you cursor to your top right corner, you'll see a view. It really helps if you put it on speaker view. That way, Judy can spotlight whoever's talking at the time. If you want to get a sense of the totality, you can switch to gallery view. I am not your boss. You'll do what's in your heart to do. There's also a chat function at the bottom of your screen, which is a really great way to add comments, make suggestions, and ask questions. We have a really sizable group tonight, so we tend as much as we want to encourage people to unmute and participate in the dialogue, we will try and keep it managed just so we can fit in all of the content. So if you have a question that is burning inside your brain, please write it down in the chat, and Judy and I will try and find a moment to bring it up to our guests and kind of fold it into the flow of the program, or we can take a few moments at the end of the event to make space for as many questions as we can. So hopefully that's clear enough. Right, just before we start, sorry for the delay, I got a bit confused there. The last thing I need to do before we get going is acknowledge that that I am currently here on the traditional territories of the Erie, the Neutral, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas. This is land that's covered with the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this is land that's covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase of 1792 and between the Crown and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Land acknowledgements are important to give, and we try and do them at the Art Gallery of Hamilton freely and with some reverence to the context that we're presenting in tonight. And one thing I should point out is that the tools that we get to enjoy that bring us all together, the Zoom, the digital tools, the high-speed internet, are things that are not available to many Indigenous communities in Canada, as well as many marginalized communities. So it's just good to take a moment to be grateful that we have these mechanisms. And then to consider everything that happens tonight with the spirit of allyship, the spirit of social justice, spirit of maybe wanting to rip down capitalism and start a brand new, better way of sharing space and getting along. It's not an order, it's just something that comes up in my mind, full disclosure. I think that when we talk about land acknowledgement too, we really talk about heavy in that is the notion of reverence and stewardship, of being able to look to cultural forms and build space around them and protect them. And I think it is kind of in that context that makes me and the rest of the gallery so happy to have some time with Jem Safir, with the community of musicians that he's connected to, and the fine work that Zula and the Something Else Festival have done, not just in our community here in Hamilton, but I guess also in Vancouver, where you started promoting concerts. Is that correct, Jem?
Correct.
Can I make that a seamless segue to let you give us a bit of backstory about the passion that's driven you since 2000, right? That you've been organizing concerts. Yes. You can give us a little bit of the story, how you came to Hamilton, and get us started with our fantastic program tonight.
Sure. Yeah, 20 some years ago, I was a burning music fan and a letter carrier who needed to see more of what he loved happening in Vancouver, which already had an embarrassment of riches festival time, but year round, not always as much as some of us would have liked. So there was an instance where one of my favorite bands, John Zorn's Masada, was coming to Seattle, and I decided, can't be too hard. I'll give it a shake. And that's how it started. And so it was one-offs for the first few years. And eventually it led to a residency at Rhyme, where a Turkish restaurant and performance space on Commercial Drive in Vancouver. And we had everything from bluegrass to electronica, modern dance to folk traditions, jazz, improvised music, political gatherings, whole bunch of stuff. And we kept the place humming, as they say, and it was loads of fun. It was a cultural hub, really, and like a club without the negative connotations. Musicians were hanging out there, so that was a good sign when they weren't playing. So that felt really good. And then sort of, I guess 2009, I moved from BC to Montreal, and for 3 years I didn't present, and then moved to Hamilton, also as a postal worker. And in 2014, it felt like, without stepping on any toes, there could be some, we could represent a slice of what we'd like to represent without stepping on any toes. There wasn't much going on happening in Hamilton in terms of creative music, newer traditions in jazz, improvised music, that sort of thing. So that became a bit of a mission, and we started in 2014. And originally it was my partner, life and work partner, Donna Acree, and myself. And David Lee joined us, then Gary Barwin eventually, and few folks came and went. And now we're an incorporated nonprofit made up of 15 arts professionals, if you want to, that's the terminology we use for the grants, but folks who want good things to happen in their own backyard, essentially. So we're trying to present, and we're recently, I can talk about this further if necessary, if anyone's interested. We're looking at expanding our horizons and going back to the way I used to present, and widening our scope in terms of styles and genres and art forms. So cross-disciplinary presentations. So Something Else Festival of Creative Music was started in 2014. Later that year, we started the Creative Music Series, the year-round series. And last January, that's January 2020, just before the pandemic, we were able to do 2 presentations of Watch It Burn, which is our sort of composite arts presentations, where multiple or interdisciplinary disciplines are presented on the same bill. I think I will stop now.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So I just let me to sort of sum up you've sort of situated the Something Else Festival and the year-long series, and Watch It Burn was kind of growing and evolving in this community in a really lovely way. You and I have been talking for a number of those years about trying to situate the gallery as a recurrent venue for some of those things. Then COVID happens and it goes Coco Bananas for a while. You guys do an amazing job of bringing a series of outdoor concerts down to Bayfront Park, which I think puts you in a kind of really superior league of people who managed to think around that initial huge hurdle of trying to deal with COVID.
I'd love to take credit for it, but I think what's really what's really great about our organization is our size. We can turn on a dime.
Yeah.
We can react real quickly. That's why, you know, it'll be interesting to see what we can do with the festival this year. If gates open and if it's about as reasonable to present as it was in the fall, we can probably start doing something in June. I don't know, but we don't know. It could be much later because things are gotten pear-shaped.
So
pear-shaped several times.
So why don't we begin our program and give our audience a sense of
Sure
of the music that your series represents.
Sure. So we'll start with the band that started it all, actually, for Something Else Festival. The very first band that performed in June 2014, June 16, I believe, 2014, with on a double bill with a Chicago trio.
Bone Shaker.
Called Bone Shaker. And that's ESCHATON with Aaron Hutchinson and Connor Bennett. Their lovely duo represented Hamilton admirably. And should we start out with a little discussion, or should we just start out with the invocation? With the video?
With the video. Let's start with the video.
Lovely.
Yeah, that was spectacular.
Hi, Connor. Hi, Aaron.
Hello.
Hey, Chem. Hey, everyone listening.
We thank you a lot for taking the time to do that. That was a special treat just for us, right?
Well, for us too, it was fun
And-
to get
yeah.
together again after so long.
So
And when was that done? That was just very recently then, yeah?
Yeah, a week ago last Monday.
And can you, just for my curiosity, can you identify the tunnel you're under again? I don't know if
Yeah, for sure. If you go along York Road to Valley Inn Road, it's kind of
Yeah.
a little ways past old Guelph Road. You go down that hill, and then there's that tunnel's under the train tracks there.
Okay.
Can you talk about how you use space? I mean, that piece was definitely using space, but even in general, when you're not on location, both of you, I know, use space in your music in a variety of different ways. But as even playing as an ensemble, how you think of space?
I think I think one of the most interesting things about playing in spaces is all of the life that happens when we're not making noises. In this tunnel, in that video, we saw a couple of good things. Like this was, I think, Easter Monday, so there were actually quite a few people about, and a number of interactions. We played a lot in the tunnel, and this is just one selection of it, but there were some bikes going through and people coming through, and the interactions of us being there in a shared space and just encountering other people with our prerogative and their prerogative and trying to figure out our own compromises. But then also things like the birds. There was some parts where the geese and some birds sort of were responding almost to our music, and I think that's like better than anything we could have even expressed, really. Is that so? A lot of times, I don't know, space is kind of listening for the things that listening for other things that's working for our music, for our same musical thesis or idea.
And can you just, I hope this is not naive, but is there a discussion that happens before a performance like that in terms of what you're both looking for so that you feel like you're on the same page, or is that just from doing a number of numbers and you're kind of getting a feel for it?
I mean, that was the first take that we did that day, so I guess not really. But we just sort of went for it first. We both had practiced that song, one of my favorite songs.
at Brodie West.
A good bookend, because Nicole Rampersaud recorded the trumpet on the original track, who will kind of close out this evening. So we just sort of had it rehearsed individually, and then came to the tunnel and gave it a go.
And just kind of let the tunnel influence your performance the way it would.
Yeah. I mean, we were warming up, sort of thing, and the reverberation was, as you heard, very extensive. So the discussion was kind of to just sort of let the phrases breathe and let the tunnel, let the tunnel be an instrument, kind of, and let a third member of the group kind of.
I'm hoping that you'll eventually like play on the 403 or something, and I'm interested in the negotiations in space, and it'd be really tremendous,
Yeah.
That was so lovely.
Honestly, it would though. Like if you were playing a saxophone out into the traffic and then the cars are speeding by because it's going to reflect so fast as they go,
Yeah, totally.
they go by.
Well,
You're
that's
giving
interesting.
us real ideas here.
But you need a license to play music on the highway in Hamilton. Just saying.
Jim, you told me to be a little bit tight with the time. I'll just.
Yes. I mean, obviously, our just so everyone knows, our plan is 5 minutes of roughly music and 5 minutes of chatter. And if we don't stick to a regimen, we're gonna be behind the 8 ball real fast. We already are because we started late. But yeah, thanks so much, guys. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really looking forward to
good.
whenever, however, we're gonna make it fly. But we will hopefully someday.
Thank you, and everyone for listening.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you
a
very
lot.
much.
Next up is Kim Zombik and Nicolas Caloia from Montreal. They're SILVERVEST, and really glad to have them on board. You'll see why. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
We haven't met in person, but go ahead.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Is Nick around?
He's around. Where are you, Nick?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear voice. Yes. No picture.
Yeah. No picture. I see his picture.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
So we've been fortunate enough to have Nick come and play in Hamilton a bunch of times, including with, well, was it twice or 3 times you came with the trio? Anyway.
Could be either one.
Yeah.
But
3 times with the duet or 2 times with the trio. I don't know.
yeah, and also Laurie, twice with Laurie, once as a duo, once as a quartet, and broken down parts. And
You saved the day.
not really, but thanks.
Wow.
But always a pleasure. And also the one time you came just for a one-off from Montreal and went back to play with Jesse Stewart and Joe.
That's right. Yeah, that was fun.
Joe McPhee. That was fantastic. And Kim, we haven't been able to present, but we're really hoping that we'll be able to do this.
I hope so too.
Real soon.
Somebody just put in the chat that they're from Western Massachusetts. I'm like, yeah.
That's Ellwood.
Yeah, Glenn Siegel, who I don't see, but I'm
Oh,
sure.
oh, Glenn is there. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, okay, I see you waving up top. Nice, exactly, Western Massachusetts. Okay. Watertown, come on. Are you from Watertown? Yeah. I'm from Jamaica Plain. Anyways, yeah, I know we've got like this amount of time, right? Okay, go.
Right, unfortunately. But we'll just go into the Such a Lover track. Stunning. We'll go from there.
I went to a tea house in the winter and there was fiddle music playing on the stereo and 3 women murmured to one another, so happy to see one another. And smiles just unfolded on their winter faces. And the tea so green and bright was poured right in a beam of sunlight that had slid into the room. And the tea so green and bright was poured right in a beam of sunlight that had slid into the room. Something was carried into the room on that light. hopefulness and a certitude of joy. And the light moved and began to touch my cheek, tracing the line of my jaw and the arch of my black brow. And the tea, so green and bright, was poured right in a beam of sunlight that had slid into the room. And the tea, so green and bright, was poured right in a beam of sunlight that had slid into the room. And it moved, and it moved, and it moved, and it moved until each of my cheeks was held, each eye kissed closed. And I'm breathless now with this lover's complete attention. Warmth reaches through my skin, entering the layers of my flesh, of my beingness. A full beam like a lover's sure hand slowly wraps around my shoulder and moves to my breast, rubbing my nipples through my dress with the warmth of its palms. My breath catches, my breath catches, my breath catches. Such a bold and silent love of the sun, such a bold and silent love of the sun, such a bold and silent love of the sun, such a bold and silent love of the sun, loving me so, and in public I'm watching this slow conquer of my body. The sun pins me to my seat, covering my body with its heat. A full beam like a lover's sure hand slowly wraps around my shoulder and moves to my breast, slowly brushing my nipples through my dress with the warmth of its palms. My breath catches, my breath catches, my breath catches, my breath catches. Such a bold and silent love of the sun, such a bold and silent love of the sun, such a bold and silent love of the sun, such a bold and silent love of the sun, such a bold and silent lover, the sun.
What do you say after that?
I forgot there was that much reverb on that track.
Yeah. Sorry about that. And there was wavering earlier on.
I mean, the video itself was one thing, but then like how it came across in the Zoom meeting was.
Because your mic is on.
Huh?
Because your mic was on. I had that too.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
Well, I know I put a lot, but.
No, it was great. It was great. Sorry, Nick. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
So I'm thinking if and when all this comes together and if and when there is another side to this, we'll probably try to do an indoor and an outdoor.
Yeah. Sign me up.
we'll see. We might be forced to do just outdoor, but I'm just saying if it's
On the beach.
far down enough. What's that?
On the beach.
On the beach.
Don't you have a
tried
beach?
that one yet.
I'm just like lying in the grass. Anyways.
So
Yeah.
Kim, I have a question. That was so incredibly gorgeous, but so there's the long lines, and this, and your voice is amazing. But one thing that really struck me is each note was different, and you approached each note like shaping each word and each note, maybe a different timbre, maybe a different kind of pronunciation. How do you think of that when you're doing it? Or are you just kind of going with the feel of it, or how do you imagine that?
I think
You were just doing the walking beautifully, but it's less.
Yeah, I think I don't give a lot of thought, to be honest. I think I'm kind of like, like tasting something. And it's like, okay, that's how it seems to me. There's not a ton of reflection. It's just kind of like, okay, that feels about right. That feels about right. I think so.
And does it vary much from performance to performance when you do it in terms of that approach, or?
No, I think I'm kind of like an emotional person, so it all like just situates right here and kind of erupts as it erupts, more or less.
So you're not married to a particular, you don't stick to a plan once you're comfortable with something.
Not necessarily. I mean, there are melodies, and I end up sometimes respecting them, sometimes more than I'd want to, I could say. Like I sometimes would like to stretch out more, but you get a little attached to a particular turn of something, but yeah.
Stunning phrasing, yeah.
What do you say, Nicholas?
Oh.
Okay, whatever.
Got a mouthful there.
What can I say? I mean, that's a natural talent.
No, but like,
have to
like when
be
you
close to witness it. You really have to hear it. Every time is unique. Every time is vivid. Every time is unique. What did I say that? No, I mean, if you miss hearing Kim, you've done yourself a disservice. Say that? Is that?
I don't know.
But it's lovely to have you lay down the sonorous bass, this walking around which then all of this, the vocal line swirls. So it's really just taken together. It's just beautiful interaction and beautiful timbre. So it's even if it may feel supportive, it feels to me integral to what is going on. So it's so incredibly lovely.
Fully, I feel like it's like a little like a DNA strand. You know what I mean? It's like, both sides of the DNA strand, with those little lines that make the connection of like, okay. Anyways.
Yeah.
I gotta be a wet blanket and.
Yeah, go ahead. Smother the fire. Go ahead. I know. Next.
Thank you both for that, though. That was just.
Thank you.
Just amazing.
Everybody. Thanks so much, everybody.
So we have next up is representing many things and places, but in this case, particularly wonderful outfit called Togetherness. It's a really untapped source in many ways. A South African jazz tradition, particularly the South African expatriate community in London. I think they put together some crazy, wonderful groupings in the 60s and 70s. And it's an homage to them, and representing Togetherness, which is a fantastic band. You can go see the lineup I've posted on our website. But the leader, the fearless leader, is Ellwood Epps, who's currently in, am I allowed to say where you are, Ellwood?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
He's in Massachusetts. Are you in Boston?
Yeah.
Okay. And he was our artist in residence in 2015. And like Nick has done also driving duties. I think he played 3 nights and then he drove up to Montreal, picked up the Dutch band Eric Boren quartet with Han Benning and Michael Moore and Wilbert Deoda. And
I actually drove to Ottawa.
Right.
And I played the one wedding gig that I've ever had. I played and then had to pick them up the next morning.
Right.
So there wasn't a lot of sleep.
No.
But there was a lot of driving.
You were a mensch for doing that.
It was fun.
That was fun for everyone.
Yeah, they're good travel companions.
Yeah, yes. And I was just in touch with Eric actually, and just sent him some photos from that weekend.
Cool.
But anyway, he sent his best to all of us. And just to update us, where are you at these days? You have a couple of versions of Togetherness, and you have you're releasing a bunch of material, and you have live performances ongoing. So please update us.
Yeah, well, I've spent a lot of time in Boston. I kind of lived in Montreal, but I've spent a lot of time in Boston over the past 4 years, and especially since I've basically been here since last summer. And I do have a Boston-based version of Togetherness, just because it's so impossible to bring Canadian musicians across the border. And we're actually performing on Sunday here. And yeah, there've been a bunch of good outdoor performances happening.
With Jeb Bishop and Nate McBride and
Jorrit Dykstra.
Kurt
Newton and Matt Crane.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You've rebuilt it south of the border as well. That's wonderful.
Yeah, fuck the borders.
I think that you can say that on AGH.
Yeah, well, I just did. And I mean it.
So
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm rushing everyone. I really apologize, but let's hear from, is this an Abdullah Ibrahim piece?
It was going to be, but that's how I felt 2 or 3 days ago. But I'm gonna do something else. It's a Don Cherry piece called Happiness.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna back up, and I guess if I see myself on screen, then you also see me.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks okay. That's it.
Thank you. That was lovely.
It was.
And any questions from the masses even? Oh, you can do hard things. There you go. So, okay, we're gonna have to barrel Ellwood, but
That's fine.
Togetherness will be back and in an expand fashion, as I understand it. So I am gonna mention the band now. Jean Derome on alto sax, Scott Thomson on trombone, but you're gonna add Laurie Freedman on clarinets, I presume.
Yeah.
And Stéphane Diamantakiou on double bass and Ivan Bamford on drums.
Yeah.
What a band. So it's
and was that Don Cherry work, is that meant to be a solo work?
No, that I don't think that piece was ever recorded. So Yorit, who plays saxophone in the Boston version of the band, he sent that one to me just a few days ago. He heard it in a concert in the mid 80s. He heard Don Cherry play it with this really cool group with Mark Caloia and Nana Vasconcelos and Ed Blackwell and Carlos Ward. And he remembers that they announced the title of the piece, and there's a YouTube video of it. And no, it's a group piece, so that was, you know, a pretty loose interpretation of it. But they do a pretty loose interpretation of it anyway, I think, from what I could tell by hearing it. Yeah.
Right, I loved it. Yeah. And then technically to play that, like how to get particularly that kind of squeezy muted, is that it's a nice alternate between the kind of pure tones that hit and that kind of scratchy thing. Is that, again, naive, but is it technically quite a demanding work? Or
to go back and forth between different kinds of sounds it takes some getting used to. Yeah, you have to fall down and get back up again.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I'm nervous because that was number 3. And Ellwood, can't thank you enough, man. Thanks so much for reaching out.
Thank you, Jem. Thanks everybody.
Looking forward to whenever, whatever, however.
Soon.
Yes. Operative word. So next up is another solo live performance, but let's first introduce Adrian Ferrugia, a proud Hamiltonian. Hey.
Hey, Jem.
How are you?
Hey, everybody. Nice to see some familiar faces. Yeah. I'm good. I'm spending more time in this room than I'd typically like to be, but
right.
I'm
Thank you for squeezing us in. I know you're super busy today.
It's this one day of the week.
I know.
On any other day, I would have said, name your time. I've got all
right. We're just under the wire, so.
Yeah, man.
So, okay. Do you want to tell us what you've been up to lately? Who you've been playing with?
I've been largely huddling in the fetal position under my bed, kind of bucking back and forth, wondering when this is all going to end. No, I'm you know, obviously the focus has been largely on teaching. I guess when they've lightened, Hamilton's been a little bit sort of more free at times than Toronto. So, I mean, there have been some opportunities to have some jam sessions, and there have been a few opportunities to do some live streaming shows. Actually, my man on the bass, Dan Fortan here, we're kind of gotten involved with a neat initiative in Ottawa. A fellow named Adrian Cho has somehow created this server called Sync Space that's allowing musicians to play remotely with each other in relatively real time. I mean, the latency is barely noticeable. So that's been kind of a fun thing to start getting involved in. We've been doing some jam sessions online and stuff, and in my pajamas and slippers. And other than that, I've been focusing my energy a lot on my students these days. I feel like this is sort of my second great love. And I think being a teacher in this climate is kind of moved sort of 50-50 to educator and sort of support therapist. And it's been good for me to, get to hang with the students and share. And other than that, a lot of nature walks. I'm trying to avoid Netflix as much as possible and read instead. Trying to eat well and stay in touch with the people I care about, and get us all through this strange time in history until we can all be back out there sharing our musical vibrations with the people we love. So.
Good man.
Yeah.
If I'm not, whatever the word is, giving away confidence, is we were talking about what you were going to play, and you thought it would be nice to do some sort of impromptu piece, something improvised.
Yeah.
And I don't like to stick my nose in, but I kind of asked, would you mind sort of playing something that might be your calling card, just who you are? And do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, just, I've been to some of the amazing shows that you've presented in the past, and obviously I know that it's often the more sort of forward-looking stuff. So I was kind of gearing up to do something kind of put myself in the vulnerable spot of playing free, but then you gave me the opportunity to play whatever I want. So I'm going to stick with something a little safer, which is just a tune I wrote. I'm going to play a tune I wrote called Morning Star. Probably for the sole reason that it's on the only album of my own that's ever been nominated for a Juno, and it's the one that still gets some radio play on Jazz FM. So I think it's a catchy little number.
Nice.
Yeah. Is this the moment where I walk over to the piano and play now?
Sure. If you're ready.
Sure. I hope the sound levels are good.
Sort of keep an eye on me, and I'll say, I'll give you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for
Wow.
the opportunity to play that.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
Gary, and our two co-chairs, current co-chairs, Gary Barwin and Neil Ballantyne, are here to be asking pertinent questions instead of me riffing on my silliness.
You're doing such a good job. I really enjoyed that.
Yep.
There's my contribution. It's been great so far.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Adrian. Sorry, we're a little rushy. I apologize, but for both you and Eve, of course, it's a little tricky with a good piano, and we're fortunate that AGH has a good piano, and I think we can take it outside. Have we found out, Tor?
No, I'm still waiting.
Okay, but so if that's the case, that's how we do it, because we have. And by the way, I never finished before. We've finally figured out a way to make things work, and we'll be able to have something happen at AGH once every Thursday, once a month on a Thursday, usually one of the middle Thursdays. And the idea being just keep it steady. And in June, we actually have that connected to 3 days we tentatively booked at the park, but I'm not holding my breath. We'll see about that. And the park, we're going to have at least one day a month throughout the summer, and by the fall, hopefully once a week again. So we don't know any of this, but with regard to the piano, if for whatever reason the AGH outdoors doesn't work with the piano, what we'll probably end up doing is get a piano for the park for 1 day, so we can take care of all the piano acts
For
on
both.
1 day.
Yeah, I was
We'll
gonna say,
make it work. We can make it work.
But I think we probably will.
Yeah.
We'll
as
be
we
able
just saw with Adrian, the kind of the beauty of the piano sound and the voicings are so important, and having a nice piano just does that. And I know Eve, that'll be the case with Eve too, just beautifully playing the instrument and the timbre. And even though you think it seems like piano is just pushing about a bunch of buttons, it isn't that at all. When you hear beautiful, a really, a brilliant pianist who has a beautiful touch, you can see how it makes this machine not sound like a machine. So it's really great that we have access to these nice pianos, I think.
Indeed.
And now we should keep moving on.
All right.
We have time.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Really appreciate it, man. And don't feel obliged. Feel free if you need to run. But if you want to hang around, if you can, be great to have you around. Thanks. Up next is none other than Tim Posgate. Is Tim around? Oh, is Tim not around?
No, he is. He's just getting his banjo ready.
There he is.
He's
Okay.
got it on mute. And
I thought I saw his name before. All right. How are you, Tim?
Good, thanks. How's that sound? Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Nice and clear. And so representing So Long 7, wonderful quartet of guitar, banjo, violin, and tabla, is Tim Posgate, who's a guitarist and banjoist, who's played in various projects, including our very first year with Ronnie Tepper's Lip Liners, right?
Right.
And also memorably, the quartet, the Clutter Tones, with
Right.
Ron Clutton and Ryan Driver
and Lena Alamano.
And Lena Alamano. And we've had a house concert and 2018 festival at the offices of Center 3. We had a fantastic show there too, and we'll definitely have them back as well. And other things going on, right, Tim? What's happening?
Well, it was great to see Adrian because I just remembered that the last time So Long 7 played in Hamilton, I believe it was the last time, Adrian played on a bill with us at the Art Bar. Remember the amazing Art Bar, of course?
I was at that show.
I miss Ron and Judith so much.
I know.
But that was an amazing night. And listening to him play reminded me of, I went home so inspired just because of his set. So it was amazing to be reminded of that. Thanks, Adrian. And I'm pulled to Hamilton because I was born in Hamilton, and it's wild to keep coming back. I know it's not very far, but it really is a special place for me. I only lived there for 3 months, but as a matter of fact, the latest So Long 7 record was a whole Hamilton project. I have it right here. I was gonna show you that's our latest record. I'm gonna play something from this record. It was recorded at Grand Avenue Studio, which all you guys in Hamilton know, by Amy King. Produced by Anthony McKelly, who's also a Hamiltonian. And so it was we stayed in Hamilton during the whole process. Again, I know it's not very far, but it was really fun to embrace that whole city that I love and make a record there. And so I'm kind of proud of that connection.
We're glad you can come visit now and then.
Exactly.
Maybe more permanently one day.
Well, I don't have a car, so getting there is I know there's buses, but right now going on a bus is not too exciting.
No, of course.
Yeah. But anyways, So Long 7's been trying our best to stay in touch, and we're actually working on a third record from our own homes. And I'm sure some of you have been trying this. It's very frustrating and slow. When it works, it's amazing. I thought of a funny story, a quick example of how frustrating it can be. I was about to put a banjo track on a mix that the guys had started, and they sent me a mix, and unfortunately in that mix was the part that I was going to play already, but I want to play it my own way. I don't want to repeat what's already there. So I had to send it back and say, hey, can you send me another version without that instrument in the mix? Well, it took 3 days. When you're in the studio, that takes 10 seconds. So that's the kind of things that are happening to us right now. It's a very slow process. It is what it is, right? You've heard that a few times, I'm sure, in the last day or two or a year.
Indeed. Well, thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Yeah, this is a tune I wrote called Chicken Leg, and I originally wrote it for this World War II veteran that used to come to hear me play bluegrass many years ago, and it never found a home, so Long 7 started playing it. And the way I hear it now, if you've seen the movie Unbearable Lightness of Being, and you think of that little pub scene in the village, the little pub scene where they have the pig, I think of this as sort of like music that could be playing in that little pub. I hope you like it. I don't need my glasses, I don't think. Chicken Leg.
Nice.
Gorgeous.
Thank you. You have to imagine it with Revy playing the doumbek and William playing the violin and Neil playing beautiful acoustic guitar. It's a little bit different, but you get the picture.
Oh yeah. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That's another act that benefits from being indoors. I think we could make it work outdoors.
I love playing outdoors. So yeah. And Jem, I love that you're doing all the different, so many different tangents of improvisation. That's going to make it even more exciting. That's so cool.
Yeah, as I started saying earlier, you know, we didn't want to step on any toes when we started in 2014, and now it feels like, sadly, a lot of organizations went by the wayside. Like, you know, the world music thing is not really happening, and there's not a lot of new music. There's not a lot of jazz,
Even
you know, and I mean, considering like even this lineup, if you look at it, this could be a jazz festival. So we could be called the Hamilton Jazz Festival. I keep joking, but we don't need to. We don't need to label it. We kind of like it loose. And
one thing, Jem, I was going to say about having played outside. Tim was talking about when we had the performances outside, was just to be in an audience, first of all, to hear actual music acoustically wafting across you, but to be close or appropriately distanced, but in close to the audience. There's something, when I went, it was something so incredibly consoling and inspiring just by being close to people sharing the same experience. I mean, we get a virtual version of this now, but being outside with other people in the audience, it makes me realize how important it is. And so I hope that we can, as you said, we'll go back to having those concerts outside, like Tim was talking about, where we can, you know, as inside has intimacy, but outside also allows us that.
Actually,
connection.
If you remember, Gary, you know, when we moved from the gazebo to under the trees, actually that muffled area, it's perfect for this kind of thing. Envelops the sound, the foliage, and it's really wonderful. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And at AGH, the sculpture garden, you know, we just got to be concerned about traffic, but otherwise it's wonderful there.
And Tim will bring in some real chickens for you too for the piece too. So it's
Right.
fine. It's outside. We're allowed to do that. So
Awesome.
yeah, that was great. That was so nice.
In fact, AGH insists upon it. But Tor, do you have anything to add to the location business, the sound at the AGH outdoors at the sculpture garden?
Well, I know that in the last 3-4 years, we've been able to bring, like, the music that I've seen presented there it's good. There seems to be a kind of a little bit of an enclosedness there. Like it's not like rooftop Jackson Square or places where it's just super expansive and the sound bleeds out. There is something either between the few trees that we have and the surrounding buildings. There is a little bit of that capture. It's not huge, but it's interesting when you said about the piano, like having Adrienne or Eve come to do something live and play the grand piano that we have. Like, it's interesting to problem solve it though, you know, because I imagine too, we could probably bring the glass pavilion into play in maybe some creative way as well. Right? That could allow the piano to stay in and blast out. I don't know. Like there's such interesting challenges to take on this year. So I hope the other thing that we have this year that we'll have in the summer this year is a tent, because we're trying to repair some of our non-stop wedding activity that's now been condensed from 2 years. So there'll be another kind of intimacy to explore in that circumstance. So I mean, just fingers crossed that we can make it all work.
Really looking forward. Thank you so much, Tim. Thanks for being available, and lovely to hear you play.
Thanks.
Yeah,
And
thanks,
Great
Ken.
to see everyone. Thanks for the music, you guys. I actually have to run, so
Okay.
cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. So next up we have Eva Goyen, and what a treat it is to, you know, we were supposed to have her play last June. Hi Eve, how are you?
I was just vaccinated, so I'm a little bit zonked out.
That's a good thing. That's a good receptor situation, as I understand it. I do that a lot. Half pass out while I'm listening to music.
No, I said I was vaccinated.
Well, so what day?
Yeah.
When?
Yesterday at noon, and I had a rough night.
Well, Donna and I got vaccinated today. I'm not feeling anything yet, but we'll see. Well, I'm sorry. Well, at least you don't have to feel. We're not going to have you perform live, unfortunately. But at the same time, fortunately, it sounds like. Do you want to quickly just talk about what projects you have on the go? Because I know that, of course, I'm excited about your heritage Armenian, the folk tradition blend with what your take on it. And you also have a few other things on the go, some technically challenging things, and
Yeah, that's what you'll be hearing tonight.
right. And
And I'm working with trying to augment the piano in real time to do things that I've wanted the instrument to do. And so it's been a couple years of exploration. So you'll hear this, the model piano playing at the same time as the piano, and I'm manipulating the two things in real time.
And there are two pieces, so we will take a short break and quick comment, and then we'll come back and so on. Shall we get it ripping, and then we'll discuss later? Okay, we'll start out with Tidal. Wow.
I've never seen, I mean, these little clicks works were, so the reason why the quality is so good is that there was a documentary filmmaker who wanted to do a larger project, and then I just scavenged things. So it's kind of odd that there's all this like close up and whatever, but that's why it's sort of that quality. But yeah. So that was the pitch
Right.
bender part.
Nicely captured. And anything you want to say about the next piece? Play it.
No, just play it.
Let's do it. I don't know. That got me somewhere. Emotional. Caught me off guard.
Weird sounds happening when I'm hearing. I don't know if everyone else is hearing. Sorry,
Maybe
there's some
not
other
the same
sounds.
thing?
No, I mean there's other sounds, but there's other sounds. I'm not sure what the. Anyway, there's also.
It's interesting to try and filter a presentation like the one that we're doing tonight through Zoom, because the technology is kind of aggressively getting in there. I noticed that with the live performances as well, that there's a kind of that Zoom kind of insists on adding to whatever we present, and it's and then to hear your work for the first time, I think I realized like my brain is doing a lot to try and separate the sort of truth of what you're doing through the filter of how we're hearing it. I find I'm more and more fascinated with the kind of mental work that you do to kind of
translate.
For me to build a connection to the work that you're doing through this filter. On some level, it's really frustrating. On another level, I'm working really hard and kind of getting a benefit from it as well to stay connected. And I found that throughout tonight has been like a really interesting part of the process, because like Gary was saying, when you go out and you see music again live, your heart kind of reaches for an unfiltered sound, like sound coming from an instrument maybe directly to your ears. And here is the opposite. And it's because we're being challenged so much, but then there's also like that feeling of like how much I want to be connected to it in the moment. It's, yeah. I know it's not the most reverent circumstance for the music that you're making, but it is interesting as well.
But that's why we kept it all a bunch of amuse-bouche instead of full-on performances. So,
well, I mean, how lovely would it be for us to kind of complete the circle and then have these things happen live as part of your series this year? That would be so great. We'll feel so vindicating.
Well, I sincerely apologize to you as well. We're rushing everyone through because we started late and we're going way over, Eve. But is there anything?
Anyone has any questions or anything? But
any questions for Eve? Quickly, folks. Sorry, I'm being the wet blanket again.
The interface that you're working through, does that come through a speaker then and kind of talk with the acoustic piano? Is that?
Yeah, there's speakers as close to like ideally underneath the instrument so that the model piano sounds like it's blended fully with the.
Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope it all goes well for everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, and thanks so much for taking the time and sending us lovely pieces.
Thank you, Eve. Can't wait to meet you.
That's Donna.
That's Donna.
I just wanted to quickly chime in before we move on to our next segment. There's not a lot of comments, just a lot of love in the chat section that I really wanted to read out loud for a couple of people. For music specifically, there's lots of great comments like shivering, beautiful, wow, magnificent. It's just beautiful. It's amazing. So those are just some of the great comments. We also have Heidi saying, we all need to set original sound setting for live music too. It's almost a new genre or something sometimes though. And then Gary said that was so beautiful, Eve, the way the piano resonance were like a nimbus around the moon, the way they were so delicately brought out, so lovely. And also Nicolas says, it's so nice to speak in person. So that's just some of the love for you. And also I implore all the other artists that have been a part of tonight, go back to the chat. And if you haven't been keeping up, there's just so much love for you, Jem, and also for the rest of the artists as well from the community.
Yeah, we're fortunate.
So it's more of a love chat and less of an inquisitive chat.
Yes, exactly.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, and I feel like the comments that come in, they kind of emulate that snap or applause or in between things that we would kind of do in a live performance, something. And also I went to a conference today and we were talking about how performers actually miss that social cue of applause or any kind of validation from the audience to keep going or actually elevate their work, because that reception is another level of performance as well. So it's so great to hear all of that in the comments being resonated as well.
Shall we move on? Or are we?
Should we move on?
Sure. Who's up next?
I think we're at our final presentation, correct?
Yes, we are. Yes, and none other than we have Nicole Rampersaud in New Brunswick and Marilyn Lerner in Toronto. They call themselves Brass Knuckle Sandwich. One of the best names ever. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Jem.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hello.
How are you folks doing?
Pretty good.
You're both.
I'm pretty good, you know.
Surrounded by nature. How could you not be? Look behind you. I mean.
Yeah.
So, do you guys want to talk about how you two connected, and were there other projects you were involved in? I know that Marilyn's been in a bunch of things and Nicole's been in a bunch of things. Nicole's been in Eucalyptus and a whole, and Ken Aldcroft's projects and her own things, and Marilyn most infamously with Queen Mob, I guess, and a bunch of other projects, KLM Trio. Yeah, how did you guys connect? Just through the Toronto scene, I assume?
Yeah, we connected through the Toronto scene. I don't remember when we played together first, but we had a couple of opportunities, then asked each other to play. And we pre-improvised. So why don't we listen to, we thought maybe, I know we're near the end of the evening, and then if there's some stuff to talk about, we can.
Sure, but I'm always curious how people connect musically even, like, how do you get to that point? Like, you like each other as people. That's number one. I think that helps. That's really important.
It makes it easier for sure. Yeah.
But like,
I think it's a chemistry thing.
Yeah, but was there a moment, like, was at a festival someone put you two together as an ad hoc thing or something, or?
I think we were playing. We did a couple of sessions, you know, on our own, and I think, I don't know what our first like official performance was, but we played at the Somewhere There festival, I think.
Bass piano.
Bass piano. Yeah, bass piano.
I
That
think
was
we
really
just
cool.
jammed first, right? We
Yeah.
just jammed.
Yeah.
We got together because we wanted to play.
We
not
wanted to
because
play
we had a gig.
standards. Yeah.
Kick out the jams for sure. All right, let's get going with the piece we're gonna listen to acoustically, and we're not gonna show anything, right, guys?
Right.
That's
We're
right.
just gonna sit quietly, all of us. I'm gonna mute myself. You guys don't have to, but I'm sure that'll be appreciated. Period. But anyway, I think the piece is Evidence, was it?
Evermore.
Evermore, thank you. I can't find my paperwork. Okay.
No probs.
Please listen to
All good.
Brass Knuckle Sandwiches, Evermore. Yeah. Great choice.
For a closer?
So lovely.
No, we started out with the right invocation, and I think it was the right sandwich. All the right fillings and everything. So we had a lot of back and forth. You guys have been really patient with me. I thank you so much, because for those of you that don't know, this was Brass Knuckle Sandwich was supposed to play last year's festival on a bill with Imagine the Sound with Ron Mann, one of the director of Imagine the Sound present. the screening and the performance, and there was going to be a Q&A, and hopefully we can do that. But at the very least, I know we're going to do our damnedest to get you here as safely and as soon as we can. And hopefully we'll do other things too.
I want to say I just love the duettedness of that. How just intimately you were listening, but also just the sounds, how that they were very different. I mean, with the kinds of Nicole, you have this like big trumpet sound, but also then all these nuances against the less flexible piano, but creating this, but intertwining with the contrast. It was so beautiful, like really, really connected in the contrast, I guess. I thought it was really, really effective.
I mean, I guess I'd say that I was thinking about this. Improvising pair is like a good relationship where you let yourself, you can be yourself, but you're also listening to the other person.
Yeah.
So they're very different worlds sometimes we play in, but it seems like there's a way in which we can come together that feels very rewarding or something.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it very, as a listener, it's very dynamic because it's two different things that are making all these points of connection all the time, and that's you can really feel that.
I really like the patience of allowing the piano to kind of state its ground almost before the trumpet, because it's such a lovely moment when the trumpet comes in, and it comes in this way that's not like super declarative. It just sort of like joins, and it's a yeah. I because I knew it was gonna happen. I'm kind of waiting for it, and then it was like it's lovely when it comes in, because it came in, like Gary said, in this very, very integrated, natural way that just sounded didn't sound like a big fanfare. It just sort of naturally evolved into the trumpet being there, which is lovely. Yeah.
I just, because I know we're closing up, I really liked that different kinds of piano sounds, different kinds of ways the piano interacted, the way different we had what, 3 trumpets, all really, really different approaches to the instrument, and different kinds of, whether duets or solos, just how I mean, this is such a really lovely, for me, such a really lovely evening of different approaches to playing, different approaches to being, to solos, to duets, and to the sounds of the instruments, and also the kinds of style or genre, or what informed the music, I guess. It was really, really lovely, and so thank you, everyone, and thank you, Nicole. And
huge thanks to all the musicians for just getting through the last year. It's been such a trying period for any performer that does any kind of time-based art, audience-based work, to just figure out ways to scrap it through. I think that I really like to take away from this that it's really lovely to bring this community together. It's lovely to hear from all these musicians. It's lovely to hear from you, Chem, and to hear just to celebrate your work at trying to build community for this work, to build audience for it. I think the gallery, I really, really, really am hopeful and very optimistic that this year is going to give us a lot of opportunities to bring this out into in really interesting ways. So this is a lovely way to start the season, and I know it's not going to be a normal season by any stretch, but it doesn't mean it still can't be great. So I tip my hat to something else and wish it an amazing 2021.
Yeah, big thanks to Nicole and Marilyn for the lovely dialogue that you let us in on. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And huge thanks to all the artists and the audience and the crew, Zula crew, and the staff at AGH, Tor, and the folks have been tip top. I'm just so impressed that we're actually working well together. So Yeah, it's good. Looking forward to it. And yeah, the whole purpose of this thing was to give us all a bit of hope, because it's been kind of dour. And yeah, I think, we got all this to look forward to, right? So
yeah, love to you all.
Yeah, that was
Togetherness.
Yes, thanks for doing.
Quote Ellwood. All right. Onward and upward.
I feel better.
Okay, stay safe, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you again for attending.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank